Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2025 LSU Tigers as we continue along with our preview series. Will Garrett Nussmeier take this team to the next level and get another national championship in Baton Rouge? Or will this team remain out of the playoff picture? As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to join the nation. Let's get right into the video.
I have LSU as one of the better returning teams this upcoming season. Obviously, that all starts with Nussmeier coming back off of a 4,000-yard season, 29 touchdowns. Obviously, the concern there is the 12 interceptions, a true gunslinger. I love the running back game with Caden Durham. He was a 700-yard rusher last year. But what I really love is what they did at the receiving corps. Aaron Anderson comes back. He was their number one receiver last year, over 800 yards. They go out and get Nick Anderson and the burner Baron Brown. So you add this to a team that is going to put the ball up, and you have what could be the makings of a national championship contender. They get Harold Perkins back, who was hurt for a lot of last year. I think this is one of the better teams that they have had in LSU under the Brian Kelly era in terms of talent. Now, obviously, we're talking about mixing in some guys from the portal. Again, Nick Anderson and Baron Brown. So it's a matter of does it all mesh? But you're bringing back a very good quarterback from last year. Again, a bit of a gunslinger, but truly my probably early favorite to win the Heisman. And I don't mean any disrespect to any of the quarterbacks out there, but I think just based on the LSU system, this is going to be a guy, Garrett's going to put up numbers. He's going to put up numbers better than probably K, better than probably any other quarterback, just based on the system in which they run, better than Arch, because I think this team is predicated on throwing the ball around. I think they have a lot of talent coming back. And like I said, I think they have the right mix of getting guys in the portal. That Nick Anderson signing is going to be big. He was the top wide receiver for Oklahoma last year. So I think that adding him is a very big deal. Again, another guy that went for about 800 yards in Oklahoma's offense. And I think this LSU team is going to really see him pop as they open it up. Plus, I have to give that this is a team that's probably playing a little bit for the legacy of Kyron Lacey. Obviously, we know the death that happened there. So I think they're going to kind of have that on their shoulders. They're going to want to go out and represent well for him. And I think that's going to give them a little extra motivation. Steven, what's your thoughts?
Looking at this team from last year, the record, they had a lot of one possession games. A few they lost, a few they won. I think this team is going to be really good this season. This is probably going to be a fringe playoff team right around there. I think LSU
fringe playoff.
I just think their schedule is very hard. They have one of the toughest schedules, and we'll get into that obviously in a second. And when I say fringe playoff team, I mean we've done so many SEC teams so far, and you guys have seen what I think about the SEC and where I have certain teams. So I think we've already named 4 or 5 SEC teams that I project to be in the playoffs. And I don't think we get more than 5 SEC teams in the playoffs. So that's why I say fringe. That's going to be right around that end. But I think it's going to be a good team. You kind of spoke on it a second ago with Nussmeier. He's one of the better quarterbacks coming back. I think this offense is going to be explosive. Baron Brown from Kentucky is the fastest player in college football, in my opinion. Harold Perkins, I've been very high on him the last couple of seasons. If you guys remember 2 years ago or either last year when we did the LSU preview, he was my pick to win Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition because he was battling injuries. But I think he's the, if not top 3, maybe top 5 defensive players in college football. He took a step back because of injuries, but I still feel like he has the potential to be one of the better players in college football. I do want to say there's a mistake on the screen that I just realized. And that's Dylan Sampson on the left-hand side. Obviously, he's from Tennessee, so I forgot to erase that name. So Dylan Sampson was not on LSU. So before I get crucified in the comment section, he just didn't get erased. But I think losing Will Campbell's big. He was one of the better offensive linemen in the country last year, so that's going to be a big deal to lose. You lose Miles Frazier as well. He got drafted, and Emory Jones. So this offensive line is going to have some turnover. Not to say that they're not still going to be good, but you lose 3 linemen to the draft. I think that has to be kind of stated and spoke about. But like you said, I think the wide receiver core is going to be really good. I think the running back room is going to be solid. It just I don't know how good this team can be with the schedule. The schedule is very hard. We'll know a lot come Labor Day weekend when they play at Clemson. I think if they go into Death Valley and win that game, or go into Clemson, I'll say, and win that game, then I think they're going to put the country on notice. This is going to be a top 10 team coming into the season, maybe even top 5. So that's going to be a big matchup, a playoff atmosphere. So I'm excited to see how that goes. And
I bet that is my game of the season. Just early looking, I think that is going to be the game of the season.
yeah, and I do want to say there's only 6 names on the key additions, but LSU signed 14, if I'm not mistaken, 4-star transfers, which led the country, if I'm not mistaken. So they had a lot of players get brought over. I wasn't going to put 14 names on the screen. That's entirely too much. So I know people are going to say you forgot about this person and that person, but there's a lot of people that was signed by LSU. They had a top 10 recruiting class. They bring back arguably a top 5 defensive player, arguably a top 3 quarterback. So this team is going to be really good. I think they have the expectations to win a national championship. Do they do that? We will wait and see. But let's get into their schedule. I'm going to let you kind of go first.
The tough part, and I think this is the first time you're really going to see this wide of a disparity between the floor and the ceiling. And I think this goes to exactly what Stephen was saying. This is a very tough schedule. So when I'm doing floor, I'm looking at games that they could lose that I wouldn't be shocked by. Right? When you play Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Alabama, that is a gauntlet. Now, I think obviously I have them 11-1. I think that talent-wise, they are better than most of those teams. But in college football, and again, we talked about Nesmeyer's tendency to sometimes turn the ball over. We've talked about the number of portal transfer guys that they got. So if that doesn't mesh right away, again, outside of that Clemson game, your third game of the season is a very tough Florida game. If this doesn't all mesh, I don't see them going 5-7. But I think there are 7 games on this schedule that they could reasonably lose, and I would not be shocked at. This is probably one of the widest margins that we've had in our years of doing this. And I think this both speaks to LSU, but it also speaks to the depth of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have them going 10-2. Those of you guys who have watched the previews, we've done previews on Clemson, Florida, A&M, Alabama. I think that's it. So Clemson, Florida, A&M, Alabama. And obviously, if you guys watch those previews, you guys know where I had LSU in those games. We haven't done Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Oklahoma yet. So those were kind of games that I was looking at. I think the biggest trap game on this schedule is the at Ole Miss game. I think Ole Miss on the road, that's your second road game after, obviously, the season opener against Clemson. And I think you'll be either 4-0 or 3-1 heading into that Ole Miss game, depending on what happens at Clemson. But I think that could be a track game. I think Lane Kiffin's a really good coach. He's built something special at Ole Miss. And that's a game that can kind of either propel your season or that can derail your season. I think if you lose to Clemson and then you're 3-1 and you lose to Ole Miss, you are in a situation where you can't afford to lose again for the rest of the season. And you still play Texas A&M, you still play Alabama, you still play Oklahoma. So that's why I said it was a fringe playoff team to me. I think I think they would be right around the 8-12 spot heading into the end of the season. I would be shocked if they won the SEC. I'm going to be completely honest. I'd be shocked.
I'm thinking, though, I think if they go 10-2 based off of your prediction with the wins that you have them getting, so that's a quality win in Florida, that's a quality win in South Carolina, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, I think they're solidly in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I just look at it from a perspective. We've done so many of these previews, and there's been a lot of teams where I've had either them 11-1, 10-2, or 12-0. So they have to fall in line somewhere. I think we've done it at least 8 previews where a team has been 10-2 or better. And I know one of them is Alabama. So I think Alabama obviously would be ahead of them with the head-to-head win. And then obviously you have the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Penn States, the Clemsons, the Notre Dame. So I think eventually and then they don't play Texas and Georgia, which obviously helps them a lot. But then you still got those 2 teams as well. So there's just a lot of teams that are vying for those top 12 spots. But I think LSU is going to be right around there. They just can't afford to drop another game that I don't have them predicted to. Obviously, they could drop a game if you don't have them predicted because you have them 11-1. But I don't think 9-3 If everything pans out the way I see it panning out, and again, it's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to correctly guess everybody's schedule, but based on what we've done so far, I don't think 9-3 gets you in the playoffs. I think you're close. But I think this is going to be a year where there's kind of some separation between the top 12 teams or maybe even top 10 and then the field. Just based on, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are 11-1 or better this year. Just because a lot of teams don't play each other. I think Notre Dame's going to be one of them. I think Clemson's going to be one of them. We haven't done Arizona State. I think Arizona State could be one of them. So there's a lot of teams that I think are going to be right around that 11-1, 12-0 mark.
Those at-large bids are going to be more of a fight this year.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the SEC is going to be bigger of a player than it was last year as far as those last couple of spots. I know South Carolina was kind of vying for that. But then it ended up coming down to SMU losing to Clemson in the ACC title game, and there was no way they were going to do that to them because it would have caused an uproar. But I think this season you're going to have 3 or 4 SEC teams hovering around 12 to 15, and it could be either between an LSU, it could be between a A&M, a Florida, in Oklahoma, a South Carolina. All those kind of teams will be right around that 12 to 18 mark, and then obviously you're going to sprinkle in some other teams there. But I think the SEC is going to be very prevalent when you're walking into week 12 and week 13 as far as who's getting those final spots. So it's going to be tricky. But I'm excited to see how this team looks. I've been down on LSU the past couple of years, but I think this is the first time where I could realistically see them making a playoff push. And like I said, I would see them right around the 8 to 12 mark. And I know this happened last time when we did this team. I said LSU was going to go 9-3, and I was arguing with a guy for like a week on here. And he was telling me how they're the most loaded team. They have the highest blue chip ratio. Then what was LSU's record in 2023? I think they lost like 5 games or something crazy like that. Hold on, let me see something.
You probably were right. You probably were right about on.
Yeah, they went 10-3 in 2023, and last year they went. Oh no, it was last year. It was last year. They went 9-4, and I think I projected them to go 9-3. And I was like the craziest person in the world. So. Hopefully, LSU takes that next step. It gets back to playoff and the national championship picture because this is a really historic program. Obviously, having one of the better teams in college football history with the Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase team, Justin Jefferson. So I'm excited to kind of see what this team does. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, though, make sure you guys like the video, comment your guys' take on LSU, subscribe to join the nation, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.